Hey, what's up, guys? And welcome to the Cheap Stack Show, the two-game edition. We're looking at the Saturday slate. Two games on the slate. We got Houston versus Cleveland, and we got Kansas City versus Miami. I broke down both those games in game script episodes. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that a Cleveland-Houston game would have been more chalky than a Miami-Kansas City game, I would have said you were on crack. But here we are, and I'm going to break down this slate and see if we can get a little bit different. There is a ton of value in current underdog playoff best ball ADP. Elite offenses like the Rams are easy to stack. Take advantage of uncertainty and start drafting now. Use the promo code SEEK for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And subscribe to Heat Seeker Sports on YouTube for underdog strategy and drafting shows. Hey, what's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and this is the Stack Show, and this is a special two-game edition of a Saturday slate for the Wildcard Round, looking at Kansas City versus Miami. They're playing in Kansas City in frigid cold weather, and we're looking at the Houston Texans versus the Cleveland Browns playing in a nice indoor dome in Houston. So we have a tale of two weather situations, and those weather situations are impacting the chalkiness of the game that people are focused on. It looks like people want to focus on the passing game of that Texans game, which makes a lot of sense, and we're going to probably want to do the same thing. So we're going to have to take a look at that game and see how we can actually get different. And before I do that, make sure to hit the like button. Looking for about 15 likes on this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page. Help me get to 400. I'm almost there. I got about 380 right now, so I'm 20 short of 400. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And plus, when you hit subscribe, you get the alerts for all these shows going up. I'm going to be putting up a game script episode for each one of these games that we got going on throughout the playoffs. So I already got a couple up already. I put up Kansas City versus the Dolphins, and I put up Houston versus Cleveland already. I shot a show already with spread that will be going up tomorrow on Saturday, and that will be the Detroit versus complete brain fart, the Detroit game. So let's get into the two-game slate here. Going to take a look at the DraftKings slate. Make sure also to sign up for an underdog account. Use the promo code SEEK. They're going to be running playoff best ball contests all throughout these playoffs, and it's a fun game to play, and it's a addictive game to play. So if you sign up using the promo code SEEK, they're going to match you up to $100 on your first deposit. Hit me up on Twitter with a direct message, and I will send you my rankings in addition to that. For playoff best ball, and my Twitter handle is @PumaCom. So make sure you sign up using the promo code SEEK. Once you do that, hit me up on Twitter and I'll send you my rankings. So let's take a look at this slate. The first game we can take a look at is Cleveland versus Houston. As I said, this is the one that has the best weather. It also has the most obvious plays on it too, unfortunately. I think David Njoku is actually the best play on the slate, probably. I like Njoku a lot. He's going to be chalky as hell. He's 5,600, and the ownership is looking like he's going to be probably about 50% owned. But I'm just going to go ahead and put him in there because he's by far my favorite guy on the slate. Let's look at a comparison and see what Kelsey's ownership is. Kelsey is only hovering around 37%, which is actually the third highest. So I think if you wanted to pivot, you could actually go to Kelsey. Kelsey's price is, let's see, compared to the field, Kelsey's at 6,100. So he's the most expensive guy on the slate, which is actually good because that's going to keep his ownership in check in this game where everyone's fearful of him. But also it's a game where Kelsey, he still is going to be the top target of Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to be a game where they're not launching very, very many deep balls to wide receivers. So Kelsey is going to be very active in that game against Miami, and You compare him to Njoku, he's $500 more expensive, and the ownership is going to be probably about at least 30% less. So Kelsey is definitely a good pivot. You know what? Maybe we do that. Maybe we go with Kelsey, even though I really like Njoku. I do think that Kelsey obviously has that upside to beat Njoku, and that's what we're looking to do here. So let's get Kelsey in that tight end spot. Let's take a look though back at this game. It looks like um, Flacco is going to be the chalkiest quarterback on the slate, which makes a lot of sense the way that he's been going lately. And I do like him a lot. I have a ton of him in playoff best ball. He's cracked 22 DraftKings points in just about every game that he's played. His first game, he only had 17, but since then, he's just been lights out. Flacco has been very good. I like the Cleveland Browns to win this game. I got a heavy investment in them in best ball. So that is where my exposure is to them mainly. But as far as this particular slate, if we want to get different, getting away from Flacco is going to be a way to do it. And let's be honest, like Flacco could pumpkin could turn carriage could turn into a pumpkin any week now, and Flacco has an ability to underperform. We're talking about like less than a year ago, he was like the third string like Jets quarterback, and now he's been on a tear on a team that was built to make it to the Super Bowl for Deshaun Watson. But Watson obviously is out, and that leaves us with Flacco. And Flacco has been doing a great job as the quarterback, managing the games very well, managing the team very well, and getting them several wins at the end of the season. And he's just been playing really well. But CJ Stroud is at about, maybe a third less of the ownership as well. So CJ Stroud has a tremendous amount of upside. He's 6,800. He is the most expensive quarterback on the slate. He's playing at home in a dome. I don't hate the idea of CJ Stroud as my quarterback and getting that ownership discount. I think in that situation, we pair him with Nico Collins. Collins will be the highest owned guy in the slate, most likely, because looks like Noah Brown is questionable. He's got a bad back issue. I think he was limited in practice. Yeah, he still logged a limited practice, which gives him a chance to play on Saturday. They are playing in the early kickoff, so we'll have an idea before the slate starts if Noah Brown's going to play. If Noah Brown plays, I'm interested in double stacking maybe him and Nico Collins. And, that would be a way to get a little bit different as far as the matchup goes. The slot receiver has the best matchup against Cleveland, where Cleveland is giving up 20.4 DraftKings points a game, and Noah Brown runs 40% of his routes from the slot. So that makes him very interesting in this matchup if he plays. Only problem is how limited is he going to be with that back injury? You can see in his past games, Noah Brown has shown upside. He has 30 DraftKings points versus Tampa Bay, 27 versus Cincy, 22 versus Tennessee. So there's plenty of upside here with Noah Brown. And, if you want to pivot off of Nico Collins or stack him with Nico Collins to get a little bit different, I don't hate doing that with Noah Brown. Cooper, in the last game that he played against Houston, he ended up having 54 DraftKings points. So he had a monster game with Joe Flacco against this Houston defense, the last game that they played together. As far as ownership, I take that back on Nico Collins. Amari Cooper is going to be the highest owned guy on the slate, and he's probably going to be well over 50%. But Cooper is that way for good reason. And you know what? I want to play him. I think he's going to have high upside, but I think we can get a little bit different on this slate by maybe playing two of these tight ends, because I like that we have three kind of really good tight ends. We got Kelsey, Njoku, and Schultz. And Njoku let's put Njoku in that tight end position. We'll get a little bit different by putting Kelsey in our flex. Let's see. Let's get Kelsey in the flex there. That's going to get us a little bit different, I think. If we put Stroud in there, another way you could get different is putting Schultz in there instead of Njoku. That would get you different too. That way, you know what? If you have Schultz in there instead of Njoku, that'll give you a second receiving target for Stroud, just in case Noah Brown is hurt and going to miss the game. That way you have an ability to put in Amari Cooper, just get the expensive ownership there. As far as running backs, Pacheco is a guy that I want exposure to, and probably A-Chain. You probably want to stick with the Miami game for my running backs this week. That's gonna not leave me in very good position here. Let's get rid of Cooper. Let's put Njoku back in there as the guy that we want to double stack, or the guy that we want to run back with Stroud. As far as the defense, let's get the Chiefs defense in there. Could also go with the Dolphins. I like both those defenses this week. That leaves us with 4,200 per guy. Right now we got Stroud to Collins. And let's see. You know what? Maybe we get a little bit more different here. Maybe we put Schultz as the second guy that he's throwing to. Let's get Njoku there in the flex. And that's going to leave us with 5K left per guy. We got Stroud to Nico Collins and Schultz, running it back with Njoku. Leaves us with 10K left. We got Pacheco and A-Chain in there for our running backs. We got Stroud to Collins and Schultz, as I mentioned. Let's see if we want to get Cooper in there. That leaves us with 3,300. If we want to go 3,300 at the wide receiver position, Richie James, John Mechie, Braxton Berrios, McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman is the most interesting out of those names that I mentioned. And I do kind of like him in that situation with 3,300 left on the table. Let's see if we wanted to if we put Miami's defense in there instead, we could get up to Justin Watson if you wanted to use him instead. Now, this guy, David Bell, had a big week in week 18. He ended up getting 4 targets for 4 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Bell so far with Flacco, 3 targets, 2 targets. He hasn't really done anything. Cedric Tillman is out in this game. Cedric Tillman is the rookie wideout. So let's take a look at Cleveland's wideout situation here. With Cedric Tillman out, I guess that makes I think Bell is a slot receiver, and so is Moore. That might make Goodwin interesting, believe it or not. Let's see what Goodwin has done with Flacco. He hasn't gotten any targets. He doesn't have an injury designation going into this game. Goodwin's a speed guy, though. And if Tillman is out, let's see how many targets Tillman was getting. Tillman got 6 targets versus Cincy in week 18. He got 4 versus the Jets, 2 versus Houston. He got 8 versus Chicago. Flacco was targeting Tillman, and he might be interested. Right now we got Cooper and we got Njoku in there. So Goodwin might be interesting as another addition of the stack that we could get in there if we wanted to go that direction. I'm guessing that Goodwin would take over for Tillman's role, but it might also be David Bell. David Bell's been getting more targets recently. He's at 3,500. Let's see what happens if we get rid of the Chiefs and we put in the Dolphins. Yeah, it doesn't leave us quite enough money to get to David Bell, but he's a guy that want to look a little bit into this Cedric Tillman situation. I want to know where those targets are going to. So maybe when I put out my video tomorrow, I'll make a mention of that with my game script video, the short video that I'm going to put out tomorrow morning. Make sure to check that out, and maybe I'll have a little bit more information on who is going to sub in for Cedric Tillman, because that's a lot of targets that are on the table now with Joe Flacco throwing the ball, and depending on if it's going to be Goodwin or Bell that might pick up some of those targets, that could be interesting. So keep that in mind. This right here is a pretty good lineup, though. We got C.J. Stroud. We got the running backs in Isaiah Pacheco and David Devon Achane. If we swapped out Achane for Mostert, only gets us $100, so it's not worth the savings there. I prefer to stick with Achane. You can swap out Mostert for an ownership discount, though. Certainly can do that because they probably get an equal amount of work. They're going to be running the ball a lot in that game, I would guess. Nico Collins, Mari Cooper. So we got the stack from Stroud, Collins, and Schultz. We got the representation of Pacheco and Achane in that Kansas City game in really bad weather. We got the Dolphins defense, and then for our wide receiver, we have options. We can go scrubby with those Kansas City wide receivers, or we could go with whoever is going to fill that role for Cedric Tillman. If you wanted to go a different direction, maybe we don't want Stroud. Maybe Tua is going to be the lowest owned guy on the slate, but I don't know if he's worth going there. Flacco is the cheapest guy, $6,100 for Flacco. That's ridiculous. We get Flacco in there, that gives us $4,100 in that spot. We could put Elijah Moore in there. Elijah Moore, I think he does better when Mari Cooper is out. He had 6 targets last week, or in week 17, with Amari Cooper out. With Amari Cooper in versus Houston, he only had 4 targets for 3.9 DraftKings points. He's kind of up and down. He did play with Flacco in New York. They played played with each other on the Jets, so they have a little bit of a shower narrative going as far as being on the Jets together. So Elijah Moore, would be interesting at 4K if you wanted to roll with Flacco in that captain spot instead. David Bell, also in play there. Noah Brown is too expensive in that spot. Now, this is with 2 tight ends. If you wanted to swap it out, maybe with Flacco in there, we don't need Schultz. So maybe we go with Njoku in the tight end. Leaves us with $4,200 per guy. If you wanted to go in the flex with, let's see, Rashid Rice is more expensive than Kelsey. Singletary is an option. Jerome Ford would be an option. I think I like these tight ends in the flex. I think that's the way I like going the most. That seems to be the easiest way to do it. Let's go and see what the optimizer likes. I'm going to take out a couple of guys so the optimizer lets me build the lineup here. Get rid of Blake Bell and Harrison Bryant. Let's see, optimize. Yep, they like 2 tight end builds too, so that's probably going to be a popular way to go. The way that they built it, they got Flacco. They're using Singletary. Singletary seems like he's going to be pretty chalky this week. Isaiah Pacheco, Robert Woods, Rashid Rice, Nico Collins, David Njoku, and the Chiefs defense. You can use your imagination for who they got in that flex spot, but it's another tight end. So, that's an interesting build right there. I kind of like the direction that I went over that, going with Achane, one of those Miami backs in addition to the Kansas City back. A lot of people don't like going with competing running backs in the same game, but I think both of these teams are going to be taking run-heavy approaches. So I think that this is a pretty good direction to go with what I was doing, and get maybe Schultz in there as our second as our flex guy. So we're going with Njoku and Schultz instead of Njoku and the tight end that the optimizer goes with. So very seemingly pretty easy build. I think if you want to get different, you're gonna want to go with something like let's go with Tua to Tyreek. Let's go Tua, Tyreek, and A-Chain. We'll go with a Miami wins build. As far as defense, we can probably let's go with the Browns D. Let's say that the Dolphins are relying or the Texans are relying too heavily on Nico Collins, and the Browns are able to project that and take him out. So Nico Collins is not playing a major factor. Let's get Pacheco in as our second running back, see where that leaves us. All right, so let's get we got Tua in there. Let's get Schultz. No, let's get Njoku in there. See where that leaves us. That leaves us at 4K for our wide receivers. Yeah, it doesn't really do much for us. Let's try to get out Pacheco. Let's put in Singletary instead. Let's put Rashee Rice in there. That leaves us 3,100 per guy. Not a very good direction there. So I can see why Tua is not going to be highly owned, because it's tough to go in that direction. Let's swap out Hill for Waddle. That leaves us with at least a little bit more money. That way we can put in Schultz back into that flex position, and leaves us with 4,100, just like we were in that previous spot. Except we can leave, we can put more in there in that spot too, or someone along those lines. But those are a couple different ways to build this week. I think that the most popular game to stack is going to be the Cleveland-Houston game. I think there's good reason for that. As far as the totals on these games, Cleveland-Houston is going to be. Take out FanDuel here. Actually, let's look at let's see if we can find it on my optimizer here. Okay, so the total on the Cleveland-Houston game is looking at a 44.5 point total, with Cleveland as the road favorites, and the Miami game versus Kansas City game, we're looking at a 44 point total. It's surprising to me that the Miami game is so high in that total. I definitely think that that's going to hit the under, but maybe, it seems like Trappy. It seems too easy to bet the under in that game. Spread mentioned on the show that I did with him that he thinks that game is has a high total because basically Miami has gone over the total in just about all their games. So Vegas is adjusting up because of the Miami factor there. But like you could easily go that Miami direction. Let's go with Patrick Mahomes. See if that gets us what that gets us. With Patrick Mahomes, we got Rashee Rice still. This lineup doesn't account for Pacheco either. If we go with Tua, you're fading Pacheco, which is a risk. If you wanted to go Pacheco over Singletary, I don't think you can. Yeah, you still got 3,400 there, so you can go 3,400 and put in a guy like Watson, Hardman. If you put in Mahomes over Tua, you can't get to Watson. Maybe go Browns down to Chiefs. Leaves you with 3,700. You can get to Watson in that situation. which would probably be the best option if you want to double stack Mahomes. You could also get rid of Njoku and go with Kelsey maybe. That leaves you with 3,200. And you can go down to, like Hardman in that situation. You triple stacking Mahomes in that. I wouldn't want to do that. But if that other game is going to go under, you're going to want one of these defenses. Maybe we go with the Texans D instead. If we go with the Texans D, we can get Singletary back in there. We'll say that the Browns defense is holding Pacheco at bay. The Browns defense allows only 16.2 DraftKings points a game, so that's a realistic thing to envision. So A-Chain and Singletary. We got Mahomes to Rice and Kelsey. We got going to need to swap those out. Schultz in the tight end and Kelsey in the flex. Mahomes to Rice and Kelsey. That way we're fading Pacheco, and you can get 3,800 left for your last spot. And that leaves you with, like Wilson Jr., Watson, same spots. So you can get another Chief in there if you wanted to go triple stack with the Chiefs. But, fading a lot of guys in this one. But, it makes sense with fading Hill if we think that, like Hill's going to be neutralized by the game environment. We think Collins is going to be neutralized by the game environment. That's why, like we're relying more on Singletary and the defense. We expect Cooper to get neutralized by the Texans. Maybe he doesn't have as big a game as he had that last time out, but we got to have at least, I think, one Cleveland guy in there. So maybe we take out Schultz and put in Njoku. Leaves us with only 2,600. Which makes it trickier to put Kelsey in there. So let's go back to Schultz in that spot. And then we go with Justin Watson in this scenario. Makes a lot more sense. That way we're going with Mahomes stacked with Rice and Watson. On the other game, we have Njoku and Schultz as the pass catchers. And then Singletary and the Texans D. That makes sense with fading that passing game, which is going to be popular. And then we're focusing on the passing game of Kansas City instead. And maybe A-Chain and Waddle are having success against Kansas City. So it's a game stack with the less popular game, but it shows you, like a direction that you can go where you kind of think it through and make sure you're getting some correlation in there. So that's it for the 2-game slate, guys. Make sure to check out the game scripts for more in-depth analysis on each individual game. Maybe give you ideas on directions that to be good to go with building these lineups. Hit like, get me to 15 likes. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, looking for 400 subscribers. And make sure to subscribe, sign up for an account with Underdog using the promo code SEEK. They'll match you up to $100 on your first deposit. Hit me up on Twitter at PumaCom, and I will send you my rankings if you sign up for Underdog account using the promo code SEEK. And I will talk to you guys later.